The human was supposed to be a partner. Now she's a Legend Part 1 captain. Ji-woo stood at the docking bay window and watched the massive Quarren flagship drift into position. The crystalline vessel caught the station's lights and scattered them into 1,000 rainbow fragments. Beautiful, she thought. Cold but beautiful, just like everything the Quarren made. She pulled at the collar of her coalition uniform. 15 years since humanity joined the galactic community, and the uniform still felt wrong. Too stiff, too formal, too much like they were trying to prove something. Maybe they were. "Captain, your assignment brief just came through," Dae-hyun said from behind her. Her co-pilot and oldest friend handed her a datapad. He looked worried. That was never a good sign. Ji-woo scanned the document and felt her stomach drop. "They're partnering me with a Quarren commander? Not just any commander. Velthar. The Velthar. 3 successful campaigns, decorated hero, advisor to the Quarren High Council." Dae-hyun shook his head. This is either a huge opportunity or a complete disaster. With humans, it's usually both, Ji-woo muttered. The mission brief was straightforward enough. Escort a diplomatic convoy through the Kelmar Expanse to neutral territory. Guard the peace talks between the Quarren Empire and the Drexian Confederation. Prevent a war that could tear apart half the galaxy. Simple, except nothing involving peace talks between 2 ancient, proud civilizations was ever simple, and nothing involving humans in the coalition was ever easy. Ji-woo had spent 8 years hauling cargo across the frontier, taking jobs that other species considered too dangerous or too boring. She'd flown through ion storms, navigated dead zones where sensors failed, and once landed on a planet where the atmosphere was literally trying to dissolve her ship. She'd survived all of it, but dealing with Quarren superiority? That might actually kill her. "When do I meet the commander?" she asked. 5 minutes ago, actually," a voice said from the doorway. Ji-woo turned. Commander Velthar stood in the entrance to the docking bay, towering over them at nearly 7 feet tall. His crystalline form refracted the light in geometric patterns, and his multiple eye facets studied her with what she could only describe as polite disdain. "Captain Ji-woo," he said, his voice like wind chimes in a storm. "I have reviewed your service record. It is adequate for this assignment." Adequate. The word hung in the air like an insult. "Thank you, Commander," Ji-woo said, keeping her voice level. "I've reviewed yours as well. Very impressive." If Velthar caught her sarcasm, he didn't show it. "This mission requires precision and discipline. The peace talks cannot fail. The diplomatic convoy must arrive safely. There is no room for human improvisation." There it was, the thing that every other species said about humans when they thought they were being diplomatic. Humans were impulsive, emotional, reckless, never mind that those same qualities had pulled humanity through 12 extinction events back on Earth. Never mind that. Improvisation had saved more human lives than any carefully calculated plan. "I understand." "Commander," Ji-woo said, "my ship, the Steady Horizon, is ready for departure. We've run full diagnostics and loaded supplies. We can leave within the hour." Velthar's facets shifted, the Quarren equivalent of a nod. "Acceptable. I will coordinate the convoy formation. Your vessel will take the rear position. You will follow my commands exactly. Is this clear?" "Crystal clear," Ji-woo said, and immediately regretted the pun. If Velthar noticed, he didn't react. He turned and walked away, his crystalline form clicking softly against the station floor. "Well," Dae-hyun said quietly, "he seems fun." "He thinks we're children," Ji-woo said. "Useful children who can fly ships, but children nonetheless. To be fair, the Quarren have been spacefaring for 4,000 years. We've been out here for 15. And in those 15 years, humans have solved problems that stumped the coalition for decades. We've survived situations that should have killed us. We've adapted to environments that other species won't even visit." Ji-woo grabbed her flight jacket from the locker. "But sure, we're the primitives." Sun-hee, the ship's medic, met them at the Steady Horizon's ramp. "I heard we're babysitting a Quarren commander. Please tell me the rumors are exaggerated." "They're not," Ji-woo said, "but the mission is solid. Diplomatic escort through neutral space. Should be boring." "Boring would be nice for once," Sun-hee said. "I'm tired of patching you two up after your adventures." The Steady Horizon wasn't impressive by coalition standards. She was a cargo hauler, converted for long-range transport with minimal weapons and basic shields. But Ji-woo knew every bolt, every circuit, every quirk of the aging vessel. The ship had carried her across half the galaxy and never let her down. 3 days later, they were deep in the Kelmar expanse with 5 other vessels in convoy formation. The diplomatic ship led the way, a sleek Quarren cruiser carrying Ambassador Hana and her team. Velthar's flagship provided heavy protection in the center. Jiwoo's steady horizon brought up the rear, right where Velthar wanted her. Out of the way. Out of sight. Out of mind. This is actually kind of peaceful, Daehyun said from the co-pilot seat. No pirates, no storms, no emergencies, just empty space and a boring flight path. Don't say that, Sun-hee called from the medical bay. You're going to jinx us. That's superstition. We're in space. There's no such thing as jinxes. The proximity alarm screamed. Jiwoo's hands flew across the controls as 12 hostile signatures appeared on sensors. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel right on top of the convoy. The tactical display painted them red. Vryn Raiders, the most dangerous pirate faction in the expanse. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Velthar's voice crackled over the comm. They know The transmission cut off as weapons fire tore through the convoy. Jiwoo watched in horror as 2 escort vessels exploded instantly. The diplomatic ship took a direct hit to its engines and went dark. Velthar's flagship tried to return fire, but 3 pirate ships converged on it, overwhelming its shields. Within 90 seconds, the entire convoy was crippled except the steady horizon. They're ignoring us, Daehyun said, his voice shaking. They hit everything else first. They knew exactly what to target. This was planned, Jiwoo said. Someone told them we were coming. Someone gave them our route. The comm crackled. All ships. This is Commander Velthar. Main power is down. Weapons offline. We need... Static drowned out his words. Jiwoo stared at the tactical display. 12 pirate ships. Dozens of survivors scattered across disabled vessels. No reinforcements for at least 4 days. And 1 functional ship that nobody considered a threat. Her ship. Sun-hee prepped the medical bay for mass casualties. Daehyun plot a course to the flagship. We're going in. They'll shoot us down, Daehyun protested. Not if we're too small to matter, Jiwoo said. She pushed the throttle forward. Let's show them what humans do when everything goes wrong. What's that? Sun-hee asked. Jiwoo smiled grimly. We improvise. The human was supposed to be a partner. Now she's a legend part. The steady horizon weaved through the debris field like a needle through cloth. Jiwoo kept the ship's profile small and power signatures minimal. To the Vryn Raiders, she hoped, they looked like just another piece of wreckage drifting through space. Life signs on the diplomatic vessel, Daehyun called out. Hull breach on decks 2 and 3, but the command section is intact. How many survivors? Reading 23. Including Ambassador Hana, Jiwoo adjusted course toward the crippled diplomatic ship. Through the viewport, she could see scorch marks across its elegant hull. Atmosphere vented from multiple breaches, crystallizing into glittering clouds in the vacuum. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. The rescue operation took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of carefully matching velocity, extending docking tubes and pulling survivors aboard. Every second felt like an hour. Every sound made Jiwoo flinch, expecting weapons fire. But the pirates were busy. They were systematically looting the convoy's remains, pulling cargo and equipment from the disabled vessels. They hadn't noticed one small cargo hauler playing rescue ship. Yet Ambassador Hana was the last aboard. The human diplomat looked shaken but composed, her formal robes torn and stained with dust. Captain Jiwoo. Thank you. The crew of the diplomatic vessel didn't make it, Jiwoo said quietly. I'm sorry. We got everyone we could. Hana closed her eyes briefly, then nodded. Commander Velthar. Is he alive? His flagship is disabled, but we're pulling survivors from there next. They found Velthar in the command center of his flagship, emergency lights casting strange shadows through his crystalline form. A crack ran through his left side, leaking the luminescent fluid that passed for Quarren blood. 2 of his officers were dead. 3 more were injured. Captain, Velthar said as Jiwoo and Sun-hee entered with medical supplies. His voice was weak, the chimes now discordant. Your timing isn't fortuitous. Can you move? Sun-hee asked, already scanning him with medical equipment. With assistance. They got him aboard the Steady Horizon along with 15 other survivors. The cargo bay was now a makeshift refugee center. 38 beings from 4 different species, crammed into a space designed for shipping containers. Sun-hee moved through them efficiently, treating injuries and distributing emergency supplies. Jiwoo stood in the cockpit and studied the tactical display. 12 Rin ships still prowled the debris field. The steady horizon was hidden in the shadow of a large asteroid, power reduced to minimum. They were safe for now, but it wouldn't last. Captain. Velthar had made his way to the cockpit, one arm held carefully against the crack in his crystalline body. I have calculated our options. We should hide here and wait for rescue. Coalition reinforcements will arrive in approximately 96 hours. We have sufficient supplies. The logical course is to remain hidden. Jiwoo looked at him. The pirates are searching every asteroid, Commander. Look at their pattern. She highlighted the pirate movements on the display. They're being systematic. They'll find us in about 18 hours. Then we relocate to another hiding spot. And they'll find us again. They have 12 ships and all the time in the world. We have one ship with no weapons and barely functional shields. Jiwoo zoomed out on the star map. But I have another idea. I am listening. We run. We take the steady horizon and lead them away from here. Draw off their whole fleet. Give the rescue beacon time to reach Coalition space. Velthar's facets shifted rapidly, the Quarren equivalent of shock. That is suicide. They will destroy you within hours. Maybe. Maybe not. I have calculated the probabilities, Captain. Your survival chance is 12%. 12% is better than 0, which is what we have if we stay here. You are being emotional, impulsive. This is exactly what I warned about with human. Commander. Jiwoo's voice was sharp. I've been flying frontier routes for 8 years. I've survived ion storms, spatial anomalies, and engine failures in deep space. I've landed on planets where the air is poison, and taken off from moons where the gravity should have crushed my ship. And you know what the secret is? Velthar didn't answer. Humans don't just calculate odds. We change them. We improvise, we adapt. We refuse to lose. Jiwoo brought up a navigation chart. The Kelmar expanse is full of hazards. Unstable gravity wells, radiation zones, debris fields. Dangerous for everyone. But I grew up on Earth's oceans, Commander. My family ran salvage operations during typhoons that killed other ships. I understand chaos. I can use it. This is not a typhoon. No, it's worse. But the principle is the same. You don't fight the storm. You ride it. Ambassador Hana stepped into the cockpit. Captain Jiwoo is right, Commander. If we stay here, we all die. If she runs, at least some of us survive. The peace talks can still happen. The treaty can still be signed. That's worth the risk. Velthar was silent for a long moment. His facets dimmed and brightened, processing. Finally, he spoke. If you do this, Captain, you will be violating my direct orders. I am the ranking military officer. I know. You will likely die. Probably. This is... Velthar paused. Illogical, reckless, foolish. Very human, Jiwoo said with a slight smile. Yes. Velthar moved closer to the viewport, looking out at the stars. I have studied human military history, Captain. Your species has a pattern. When facing impossible odds, you do not surrender. You attack. When trapped, you do not freeze. You improvise. When losing, you change the rules. He turned back to her. I thought it was primitive aggression. Now I wonder if perhaps it is something else. What's that? Courage. Jiwoo felt something shift in her chest. Respect from a Quarren. She'd never expected that. Commander, I need you to coordinate the survivors here. Keep them calm. Set up that emergency beacon on maximum broadcast. Coalition forces will find you. And you? I'm going to give those pirates something to chase. She turned to Daehyun. Plot a course away from the survivors. Something obvious. Make sure the pirates see us leave. You want them to follow us? All of them. Daehyun stared at her. Jiwoo, that's insane. I've been called worse. She sat in the pilot's chair and started the pre-flight sequence. Sunhee, I need you to stay with the survivors. Your medical skills? Absolutely not, Sunhee interrupted. You're flying into a death trap with half-functional systems. You need a medic more than they do. Sunhee, don't argue with me, Captain. I'm coming, Daehyun sighed. Well, if she's being crazy, I might as well too. Someone has to keep you both alive. Jiwoo looked at her crew, her friends. They knew this was probably a one-way trip. They were coming anyway. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. Ambassador Hana touched Jiwoo's shoulder. Captain, when you don't come back, if I don't come back, when you don't come back, I will make sure every being in the coalition knows what you did here. I promise you that, Jiwoo nodded. She didn't trust herself to speak. Velthar moved to the airlock. Captain Jiwoo, I was wrong about humans. I was wrong about you, perhaps. The galaxy has been wrong about your species. He paused at the door. Show them what we missed. Show them what humans truly are. I plan to, Commander. The airlock sealed. Jiwoo watched on the monitors as Velthar and Hana made their way back to the survivors hidden in the asteroid's shadow. Then she turned to her crew. All right, let's light this candle. She pushed the throttle forward and the steady horizon shot out from behind the asteroid, engines burning bright and obvious. Every pirate sensor in the area would see them. 20 seconds later, all 12 Vryn ships changed course. They were coming. Here we go, Jiwoo whispered. Time to show them what 12% looks like. The human was supposed to be a partner. Now she's a legend part. The first weapon's blast missed the steady horizon by less than 50 meters. Jiwoo threw the ship into a spiral, diving toward a nearby asteroid field. Behind them, 12 Vryn warships gave chase like wolves after wounded prey. They're not even trying to be careful, Daehyun said, monitoring the pursuit. They just want us dead. Good, Jiwoo said. She yanked the controls hard left, threading between two massive asteroids. Angry enemies make mistakes. The steady horizon wasn't built for combat flying. She was a cargo hauler, heavy and slow compared to warships. But Jiwoo had spent years pushing the old ship beyond its limits. She knew exactly how much stress the hull could take, exactly how tight she could turn before the engines failed. She proved it by skimming so close to an asteroid that Daehyun could see surface details through the viewport. 3 Vryn ships tried to follow. One scraped its shields against rock and had to pull back. The other 2 kept coming. Daehyun, vent cargo bay 3 on my mark. That's half our remaining supplies. Mark. Daehyun hit the release. Behind them, 40 tons of supply containers exploded out into space, spreading into a cloud of debris. The pursuing Vryn ships flew right into it. Containers smashed against shields, creating false sensor readings and temporary blind spots. Jiwoo used those 3 seconds to change direction completely, diving under the asteroid field and accelerating away. Nice trick, Sun Hee called from the medical bay. How many more times can we do that? Twice more, maybe 3 times before we're out of things to throw at them. Then what? Then we get creative. The chase continued for 6 hours. 6 hours of constant flying, constant decisions, constant danger. Jiwoo used every trick she knew. She flew through radiation zones that scrambled sensors. She used gravitational slingshots around dead planets to boost speed. She shut down all non-essential systems to reduce their energy signature, making them harder to track. The pirates kept coming. But Jiwoo noticed something. Of the 12 ships that started chasing them, only 11 were still in pursuit. 1 had fallen behind, damaged or low on fuel. The others were spreading out, trying to cut off escape routes. They were adapting to her tactics. We need to change the game, she muttered. How? Daehyun asked. He looked exhausted. They all were. Jiwoo studied the star map. Ahead was the Varash Nebula, a massive cloud of gas and radiation that stretched across 3 light-years. Ships avoided it because the radiation played hell with shields and the density made sensors useless. Flying through it was considered insanely dangerous. Perfect, Captain, Daehyun said slowly, following her gaze. Please tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking. I'm absolutely thinking it. That nebula will fry our systems. We'll be flying blind. 1 wrong move and we hit debris at full speed. The pirates will have the same problem. Except we're smaller, more maneuverable, and I'm willing to bet they've never flown through anything like Earth's ocean storms. Jiwoo set the course. Besides, what choice do we have? We can't outrun them forever. Sun Hee appeared in the cockpit doorway. Are we really doing this? Unless someone has a better idea. Silence. Okay, then strap in. This is going to be rough. The steady horizon plunged into the Varash Nebula like a submarine diving into dark water. Immediately, the sensors went haywire. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The ship's shields flickered as radiation washed over them. Jiwoo switched to manual controls and visual navigation only. No computers, no automation. Just her eyes, her hands, and her instincts. Behind them, the Vryn ships followed into the nebula. She could see their running lights in the murky gas, like fireflies in fog. Here's where it gets interesting, Jiwoo said. She took them deeper into the nebula, toward the areas where the gas was thickest. Navigation became impossible by any standard measure. But Jiwoo wasn't using standard measures. She was reading the patterns in the gas currents, the way the radiation ebbed and flowed, the shape of the shadows in the murk. It was like reading waves on the ocean. Once you understood the pattern, you could predict what came next. The Vryn ships built for open space combat struggled in the chaos. One collided with a hidden asteroid and exploded. Another lost navigation completely and drifted off into the nebula's depths. The remaining ships slowed down, becoming cautious, but their commander was smart. He kept 3 ships in a tight formation, using combined sensors to compensate for the interference. They stayed on the steady horizon's trail. Persistent, Jiwoo said. I can respect that. Captain, our shields are down to 40%, Daehyun reported. Hull temperature is rising. We can't stay in here much longer. Neither can they. We just have to outlast them. Another hour of flying through the nightmare. Jiwoo's arms ached from constantly adjusting the controls. Her eyes burned from staring into the murky gas. But she kept going, leading the pirates deeper into the labyrinth. Then she saw it, a massive asteroid cluster, hidden in the nebula's heart. Dozens of rocks ranging from car-sized to mountain-sized, all drifting in a slow, chaotic dance. And right through the middle of it, she spotted a path. Barely ship-width, twisting and turning, but navigable if you were good enough and crazy enough. She was both. Hold on, Jiwoo shouted. She dove into the asteroid field at full speed. Rocks flashed past the viewport so close that Daehyun actually screamed. The steady horizon twisted and spun, threading through gaps that shouldn't have been possible, banking and rolling with mere meters of clearance. Behind them, the 3 Vryn ships tried to follow. The first one didn't make it. It clipped an asteroid with its port wing and spun out of control, smashing into 2 more rocks before going silent. The second ship pulled up, trying to find another way through. It disappeared into the nebula's murk. The third ship, the commander's flagship, kept coming. Its pilot was skilled, matching Jiwoo turn for turn, but they were in a heavier ship and the asteroids were getting denser. Jiwoo saw the opportunity and took it. She led them toward a particularly tight cluster, a knot of asteroids that looked impossible to navigate. At the last second, she found a gap barely wider than the steady horizon and shot through it. The Vryn flagship tried to follow. It was too big. The ship wedged between 2 asteroids, engines screaming as it tried to push through. Metal groaned. Then something critical broke, and the flagship's engines died. Jiwoo brought the steady horizon around and looked back through the viewport. The Vryn commander's ship was stuck, helpless in the asteroid field. Through the cockpit window, she could see the commander himself, a massive reptilian form staring at her. She saluted him. One warrior to another, then she flew away. It took another 3 hours to navigate out of the nebula. When they finally emerged into clear space, alarms were screaming. The hull was glowing with heat and Daehyun was praying in 3 languages. But they were alive. Status, Jiwoo croaked. Her throat was dry as dust. Shields at 18%. Hull integrity at 34%. Life support is functional but barely. Communications are fried. We're venting atmosphere from decks 2 and 3. Daehyun looked at his displays. We're also about 3 star systems away from where we started. The survivors should be safe. We led the entire pirate fleet away from them. Coalition rescue should have reached them by now. Jiwoo slumped in her chair. Every muscle in her body felt like it was on fire. We did it. We did something, Sun-hee said, appearing with water bottles. I'm not sure it is the right word. Maybe survived or didn't die. Those seem more accurate. Did we lose anyone? Just the cargo. And about 5 years off my life from stress. Daehyun laughed. It was the exhausted laugh of someone who'd been too scared to laugh until now. Jiwoo, you're insane. You know that, right? Completely insane. Probably, Jiwoo agreed. She took the water bottle and drank half of it in one gulp. But we're alive. The survivors are safe and those pirates are scattered across 3 star systems. I'd call that a win. Coalition ships are on approach, Daehyun said, reading a proximity alert. Looks like the destroyer Defiant. Commander Tae-min, human ship? Yes. Good. They'll understand. The Defiant found them drifting at the edge of the nebula, barely functional but intact. When Commander Tae-min's face appeared on the repaired communication screen, he looked stunned. Captain Jiwoo, we've been tracking your course for the last 6 hours. Your beacon has been bouncing all over 3 star systems. What in the name of Earth did you do? Jiwoo smiled tiredly. My job, Commander. Is everyone else safe? Ambassador Hana and all survivors recovered. Commander Velthar is requesting to speak with you. He says, Taemin paused, reading something off-screen. He says you taught him what courage looks like. Jiwoo felt something warm in her chest. Respect. Real respect from a Quarren commander. Tell him it was my pleasure. The human was supposed to be a partner. Now she's a legend. Part 4. The records came later. Ship logs, sensor readings, communication intercepts, Coalition intelligence pieced together what happened during those 43 hours that Captain Jiwoo led the Vryn raiders through the Kelmer Expanse. The pirates had started calling her the Ghost. She'd destroyed or disabled 8 of their ships without firing a single weapon. She'd led them through hazards that killed experienced pilots. She'd vanished and reappeared so many times that the Vryn crews thought they were chasing a phantom. But Jiwoo didn't know any of that yet. She only knew that the steady horizon was barely holding together. Her crew was exhausted, and they still had one more problem. Captain, Daehyun said quietly as they docked with the Defiant for repairs. Sensor logs show 4 Vryn ships escaped the nebula. They're regrouping at the edge of the system. 4 ships against a coalition destroyer. They'll run. Maybe. Or maybe they're waiting for something. Jiwoo frowned. Like what? The answer came 3 hours later, when the steady horizon was in the middle of emergency repairs. Commander Taemin burst into the engineering bay where Jiwoo was helping patch hull breaches. We've got a problem, he said. The surviving Vryn ships just broadcast a message across all pirate channels in this sector. They're offering a massive bounty for your capture. How massive? Enough to buy a small moon. Their commander, Vrex, survived when you trapped him in the asteroid field. His crew pulled him out and now he's obsessed. He wants you alive to make an example of you. Every pirate in 3 systems is going to be hunting you. Jiwoo set down her welding torch. So we fight our way out. We could. But there's another issue. Ambassador Hana and the diplomatic team are insisting on continuing to the peace talks. The treaty is too important to delay. They want to leave immediately. Without proper escort? The Defiant can provide escort. But that means leaving you here with minimal protection while repairs are completed. The steady horizon needs at least another 8 hours of work before she's spaceworthy. Then we work faster. Jiwoo, Taemin said seriously, Vrex has called in reinforcements. We're tracking at least 20 ships converging on this system. Even if we get the steady horizon patched up, you can't outrun that many hunters. I don't need to outrun them. I just need to get to Coalition space. That's 4 days' travel from here. Then I'd better get started. Sun-hee appeared from the medical bay looking worried. Captain Daehyun just collapsed, exhaustion. I've got him on stimulants, but his body is shutting down. He needs real rest, not medication. Jiwoo felt a cold weight in her stomach. Her crew had been running on adrenaline and determination for nearly 2 days. Eventually, bodies gave out. Even human bodies, how long does he need? 12 hours minimum, preferably 24. We don't have that kind of time. Commander Taemin touched her shoulder. Jiwoo, leave the ship here. Come with us on the Defiant. You've done enough. Let someone else know. The word came out harder than she intended. Those pirates are coming because of me. If I'm on the Defiant with Ambassador Hana, I put the peace talks at risk. But if I'm here drawing their attention, you're talking about bait, Taemin said. You want to be bait? I'm talking about finishing what I started. Jiwoo looked at the half-repaired hull of her ship. The steady horizon got me through the nebula. She'll get me home. Alone? You can't fly her alone. I can try. This is suicide. Probably. But it's my choice. Jiwoo met his eyes. Take Daehyun and Sun-hee with you. Keep them safe. Get Ambassador Hana to those peace talks. Let me do what I do best, which is survive. 2 hours later, Jiwoo stood alone in the steady horizon's cockpit. The ship was partially repaired, systems stabilized enough for basic flight. It would have to be enough. Daehyun had woken up long enough to argue with her. Sun-hee had refused to leave until Jiwoo literally ordered her off the ship. Both of them were now on the Defiant, heading toward neutral space with Ambassador Hana and the diplomatic mission. Jiwoo was alone. She powered up the engines and felt the familiar vibration through the deck. The steady horizon groaned and complained, but she came to life. Good ship, reliable ship. One last run. Steady horizon to Defiant. I'm ready to launch. Jiwoo. Commander Taemin's voice came through the comm. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Safe travels, Commander. See you on the other side. She didn't wait for a response. The steady horizon detached from the Defiant and burned away into space, engines bright and obvious. Every sensor in the system would see her. That was the point. The pirates came like she knew they would. 20 ships all hunting for the ghost, all wanting that massive bounty. Jiwoo led them on another chase, pulling them away from the Defiant's course, drawing them deeper into empty space. But this time was different. She was alone. The ship was damaged, and she was so tired. "Come on, girl," she whispered to the ship. "One more miracle." The steady horizon responded. The old cargo hauler pushed beyond its limits once again, jumping to faster-than-light travel with shields barely functional and hull integrity questionable. Behind them, 20 pirate ships followed. For 3 days, Jiwoo flew. 3 days of jumping between systems, hiding in asteroid fields using every trick and technique she'd learned in 8 years on the frontier. She slept in 2-hour bursts. She ate emergency rations without tasting them. She kept moving because stopping meant dying. The pirates stayed on her trail. But Jiwoo noticed something. The fleet of 20 had shrunk to 15, then 12, then 8. Ships dropped away, damaged or lost or simply giving up the chase. But the core group, Rex's most loyal crews, they kept coming. They wanted her bad. On the 4th day, Jiwoo made it to Coalition space. She'd expected to feel relief, but instead, she felt something else. The pirates were still following. They'd crossed into protected territory, violating Coalition law. They weren't giving up. This was personal now. "Okay," Jiwoo said to the empty cockpit. "If you want me that bad, let's end this." She changed course, heading toward the Marek station, a major Coalition trading hub with heavy defenses. The pirates would have to break off or face Coalition warships, but they didn't break off. 8 ships following her right toward the station, so focused on their prize that they ignored the danger. Station defense systems activated. Warning broadcasts filled every comm channel. The pirates kept coming. So did Jiwoo. She led them on one final run straight toward the station's defensive perimeter. At the last second, she pulled up hard, skimming just over the station's shields. The pirates, flying in tight formation and moving too fast to stop, flew right into the defensive grid. Station weapons opened fire. 3 pirate ships were destroyed instantly. The others scattered, trying to retreat. But Coalition patrol ships were already closing in. Jiwoo brought the steady horizon around for landing. Every system failing, hull glowing with heat, engines dying. The ship touched down on the station's docking bay with a grinding crash, sliding across the deck before finally stopping. Silence. Jiwoo sat in the pilot's chair and tried to remember how to breathe. She'd made it. 4 days, 20 pirate ships, 3 star systems. She'd made it home. The cockpit door opened. Station security poured in, weapons ready. Then they saw her alone in the ship, slumped in the chair, and lowered their guns. "Are you Captain Jiwoo?" the security chief asked. "Last time I checked." "Ma'am, what just happened out there?" Jiwoo smiled tiredly. "Just another day on the frontier, Chief. Just another day." The human was supposed to be a partner. Now she's a legend part. 5. The news spread through Coalition space like wildfire. A single human cargo captain had held off an entire pirate fleet for 4 days, saved a diplomatic mission, and ended a potential war before it started. The recordings from the steady horizon's black box became required viewing in military academies across the galaxy. Jiwoo woke up 3 days after landing at Marek Station. She'd slept through most of the first day, her body finally giving in to exhaustion. When she opened her eyes, Sun Hee was sitting beside the medical bay bed. "Welcome back," Sun Hee said with a tired smile. "You've been asleep for 63 hours. The ship? In pieces. The engineers said it's amazing she held together as long as she did. You pushed that poor ship beyond anything she was designed for. She was a good ship." Jiwoo's voice was rough. "Where's Dae-hyun?" "Recovering nicely. He's been worried about you. We all have. The peace talks? Successful. The treaty was signed yesterday. The Quarren Empire and Drexian Confederation are officially at peace. Millions of lives saved." Sun Hee leaned back in her chair. "All because you bought them time." Jiwoo closed her eyes. "It had been worth it then." "All of it. There's something else," Sun Hee said carefully. "You're kind of famous now." "What?" "The story got out. Coalition media picked it up. Then independent stations. Now everyone in 43 civilizations knows about the human captain who flew through impossible odds and survived. They're calling you the Ghost of the Expanse, Jiwoo groaned. I hate that name. Well, get used to it. Because Commander Velthar requested to meet with you. He's here at the station. The Quarren commander came to her medical bay that evening. His crystalline form had been repaired, and he stood at the doorway with what Jiwoo had learned to recognize as Quarren respect. His facets were arranged in a specific pattern that meant honor. Captain Jiwoo, he said formally, I owe you an apology. You don't. I do. When we first met, I treated you as inferior. I believed humans were impulsive and reckless. I was wrong. What you did was not recklessness. It was calculated courage. You understood the risks and chose to act anyway, not from emotion but from duty. Jiwoo sat up in bed. Commander, I am not finished. Velthar moved closer. I have spent 4,000 years believing that logic was superior to instinct, that calculation was wiser than improvisation. You proved that both have value. A purely logical approach would have gotten us all killed. Your human approach saved us all. It was just survival. It was more than survival. It was excellence. Velthar's voice chimed softly. I have recommended you for the Coalition Star of Valor. The Council has approved. You will be the first human to receive this honor. Jiwoo didn't know what to say. The Star of Valor was the highest military decoration in the Coalition. Velthar himself had one. Now she would too. I don't deserve. You do. And more than that, I have requested that you be promoted to commander and assigned to the Coalition Training Academy. Your methods need to be studied. Your approach needs to be taught. Other species need to understand what humans understand instinctively, which is that survival is not about having the best technology or the strongest shields. It is about having the will to never surrender, the creativity to find solutions where none should exist, the courage to act when logic says to hide. Velthar paused. These are not weaknesses as we believed. They are humanity's greatest strengths. The ceremony took place 1 week later on the Coalition capital world. Jiwoo stood on a platform in front of representatives from all 43 civilizations. She wore a formal Coalition uniform that actually fit this time, tailored specifically for her. Ambassador Hana presented the Star of Valor, placing the crystalline medal around Jiwoo's neck. The assembled delegates rose and applauded. It went on for 5 minutes. 5 minutes of beings from across the galaxy showing respect for one human who refused to give up. When it finally quieted, Jiwoo was expected to speak. She hated public speaking, but she'd prepared something. I'm not a hero, she began. I'm a cargo pilot who got into a bad situation and did what I had to do. What any human would do, because that's who we are. She looked out at the delegates, so many different species, shapes, and colors, all watching her. For 15 years, the galaxy has seen humanity as primitive, emotional, reckless. Maybe we are all those things, but we're also stubborn. We adapt, we survive. When faced with impossible odds, we don't calculate probabilities. We calculate how to win. There's a difference. My species didn't get to the stars through superior technology or ancient wisdom. We got here by refusing to quit, by looking at challenges that should kill us and saying, not today. That's the human way. And maybe the galaxy could use a little more of that. The applause was deafening. 3 months later, Jiwoo stood in front of her first class at the Coalition Training Academy. 30 cadets from 12 different species, all looking at her with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Welcome to human tactical methodology, she said, or as the unofficial name goes, how to think like a crazy person and survive. I'm Commander Jiwoo, and I'm going to teach you something your standard training didn't cover. She pulled up a holographic display showing the Kelmar Expanse incident. This is what happened when everything went wrong. When the plan failed. When logic said we were all dead. And this is how we survived. Daehyun and Sunhee stood at the back of the classroom. Both had been assigned as instructors alongside Jiwoo. Her crew still together. Over the next 2 years, Jiwoo trained hundreds of Coalition officers. She taught them to think creatively, to trust instinct alongside logic, to never accept defeat as inevitable. The methods were controversial. Some species called them dangerous, but the results spoke for themselves. Graduates of Jiwoo's program had the highest survival rates in dangerous situations. They succeeded in missions that should have failed. They brought human adaptability to the entire Coalition military, and slowly, humanity's reputation changed. They were no longer seen as just useful workers or junior partners. They were recognized as survivors, innovators, and when necessary, warriors who refused to lose. 5 years after the Kelmar Expanse incident, Ambassador Hana visited Jiwoo at the training facility on Proxima Station. They sat in the observation lounge watching ships come and go. "The peace treaty is holding," Hana said. "Both the Quarren and Drexians credit you with making it possible. They're requesting human advisors for their military programs now." "Strange how things change," Jiwoo said. "Is it? You showed them what humans really are, not inferior partners to be managed, but equals with different strengths." Hana looked at her. "Do you ever regret it? That day when you decided to run instead of hide?" Jiwoo thought about it. The fear, the exhaustion, the certainty that she was probably going to die, but also the triumph, the survival, the knowledge that she'd made a difference. "No," she said finally. "Regret means wishing I'd made a different choice. But that choice, that moment, that's when I stopped being just another human trying to prove herself. That's when I became something more. A legend. Maybe. But more importantly, I became an example. I showed the galaxy that humans don't just survive. We thrive, we don't just adapt, we overcome. And when someone tells us something is impossible, we do it anyway just to prove them wrong." Hana smiled. "Very human." "Very human," Jiwoo agreed. They sat in comfortable silence, watching a new class of cadets arrive at the station. Jiwoo recognized the mix of species, including several humans among them. The newest generation of coalition officers ready to learn. On the wall behind them was a plaque that had been installed by popular demand. It read, "Humans do not calculate survival. They calculate victory. Learn the difference or get out of their way." Below that, in smaller text, "Commander Jiwoo, hero of the Kelmar Expanse." The human was supposed to be a partner, a junior officer, a temporary assignment for a decorated Quarren commander who thought the mission beneath him. Instead, she became the ghost of the Expanse. The captain who flew through impossible odds and survived. The teacher who changed how the galaxy viewed humanity. The legend who proved that humans belonged among the stars not despite their differences, but because of them. And in the end, that made all the difference. Jiwoo stood and stretched, preparing for her next class. There was work to do. Students to teach, minds to change, a galaxy to show that humanity was just getting started. "Come on," she said to Hana. "Want to see what the future of the coalition military looks like? Always." They walked together toward the training halls where a new generation waited to learn what it meant to think like a human. To refuse defeat. To adapt and overcome. To turn 12% odds into certain victory. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to teach them all something new.